essentially. Good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to ScreenJunkies Universe. It's going to be a great day today because we have some wonderful fan questions. We have Dan Murrell here.
Hello.
What's going on? Spencer Gilbert.
Whoop.
Roxy Striar.
Whoop, whoop.
Woo,
Yeah.
woo.
One upper.
And we're going to dive right in. Our first question is, or should we do the graphic, JT? And Friday, go, Friday.
Where's Billy, by the way? Just
Billy's on
realized that.
vacation. He's in Hawaii.
Good for him.
I love how there was ever no question that Max would inherit the Billy cam. Just the lights were
Yeah.
off. There's no there's no shot at Max inheriting Billy's camera.
Well, Max, who is our other producer, we were happy to have him inherit the Billy cam. However, he never turned on the light and turned on the camera. And so there you go. No, denied. Sorry, JT said no, Max.
Yeah, JT gave me the no finger.
Executive call. Sorry.
All right.
You're out of here. You're out of here. We were doing sports ball talk earlier. So here's our first question. This is from Alex Hudson. Do you think the MCU should have a definitive ending or take a break for an extended period? So we'll go round robin on that. But also, if you think it should have a definitive ending, do you have an idea of how you would like to see it end? Spencer Gilbert.
I don't know. They've been doing an okay job of wrapping up certain storylines while kicking off other ones. I don't think it ever has to end. It's a genre. It's like comic books themselves. Like, are comic books gonna end? Sure, some runs and some characters have worn out their welcome, and you tie them up or kill them off. But why stop? Why stop all of it? They could slow down, and I'd be fine with that.
Roxy Striar.
I'm kind of on the
MCU
opposite.
as it exists.
Yeah, I'm kind of on the opposite side of the fence for this one. I think that they do have to have a definitive ending at some point because we are at the exact place at this table of people who don't need it to have a definitive ending. But I'm just trying to look out for the up and coming generations who want to get involved and don't know where to start, and they have to watch 25 movies. Actually, is it 22?
Currently
20.
20.
Okay, 20,
Yeah.
20 movies in order to get to this spot. I think that at some point we need to clear the slate and let it have been the great run that it was. But I have no idea how to do that.
I kind of tend to agree, but it's more from a pragmatic business model perspective, which is that as it stands, the MCU, as it currently stands, is nowhere near ending. And the reason why is it makes so much money. And they are about to inherit, and they're good films, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're about to have the end of this phase with Avengers 4. But in the midst of that, they're introducing Captain Marvel. We now have Black Panther and a number of other characters that I think, to Spencer's idea, will likely come in and just sort of, like in comic books, take over and be the new Avengers, and the ones that started in 2008 will see their way out.
Spider-Man.
For a period of time, right? Like Cap
and because we have the comfort and form of a genre to fall back on, like I can pick up a comic book today, even if I haven't read it from issue 1, and like I still know what's happening.
Sure, yeah, because
Well,
you have the
problem,
basic
though.
you have the basic structure. But eventually, these movies are going to stop making money. And what I think, I'm split between you guys and Dan Wan. I'd love, before that happens and it slowly peters out and they become of less and less quality and less return, that if Kevin Feige, and if he's still in charge at that point, sees that start to happen, he finds a way to definitively end it with a bang. I would rather see that than have it just slowly die.
I 100% think it needs to have a definitive ending. If it were up to me, it would be next summer. I think that at their back, I'm going to be the artsy one, so if you don't like that, we can get ready.
I love the art.
No, people yell at me all the time. It's like, what do you expect going into these movies? Just stop expecting story and plot and just go have fun. And it's like, that's just not how I'm wired. So
Dan, I
That makes you
literally
artsy.
made a movie about Man Ray in black and white called The Surrealist Muse. So I'm the most hipster.
Okay. Well, it wasn't a contest, but anyway.
But I win if it was.
Okay. Anyway.
we vote?
Did you vote? Yeah.
I stopped listening a while ago.
Yeah. I
Billy's
forgot
the
what I was
winner
saying.
now.
Well, I just
Anyway.
think it's a funny thing to say. The artsy one.
As the one whom people say don't go to comic movies looking for story, I think that movies at their best are storytelling. It is storytelling. It's different than a month-by-month comic book. It is, what?
Just making her laugh. Happy Friday, everyone.
It's different than a month. That's the problem with comic books is you can pick up. That's what they're meant to run forever. They're not meant to tell a story, and that's actually the reason why I stopped collecting comics largely when I was younger. Was that it got to a point where they would have these huge story arcs, and then within 6 months they would go up back and undo everything that they just did and start over. And just the way that I'm wired, I got to a point where I was like, then what's the point? If everything that I'm reading has absolutely no consequence, then what's the point of continuing to read them? And so I think that they should set an end date because I would like to see them tell a complete story. And there's going to be a point where they have to go back and either ignore what came before it or undo it. And then I think retroactively that makes the earlier films less meaningful because they don't mean anything anymore because you've undone everything that was done in them. So from an artistic standpoint, I think it 100% should have an endpoint, and then you can go and either start a new continuity. I love the idea of doing one-offs. You know, you can do Marvel Zombies or whatever you want to do, and you don't have to be tied to a continuity. But
so, do you think next summer then should be the last time we see any of the current actors in this capacity?
I think it's a natural point for them to. They're not going to do it, obviously, but I think that would have been a natural point for them to say it's been by that point 11 years. This is the end of our 11-year story, and you can still do Captain Marvel and stuff if you want to do Captain Marvel, but you don't have to tie it to the current mythology, which they're doing. Not to say that that's going to be bad, but I do think that there should be, or it's going to be like The Walking Dead, where AMC's just like, we're going to do it forever because everybody loves it, and they now have almost their lowest ratings ever, and it's becoming very clear that they're not going to be able to do it forever, and they may have done away with characters and plot lines and storylines in the service of the long-term vision of the show that perhaps they should have just said, let's take what we've got and let's wrap this up.
I don't know about that, Dan. I understand your issue with comic books about not liking the kind of ephemeral, like you can pick them up and put it down and it doesn't really stick with you nature of them. But to me, it's like these are, for better or worse, like this is our folklore now. Like multiple people can tell different stories with the same group of characters. Like these are the paints in the artist's little easel that they can paint with, and
the paints in the palette, the easel,
palette. Yeah, exactly.
It's what you put the paint on.
The paints in the easel, and I've never painted before.
It's very
crayons
apparent.
only.
Yeah.
But it's cool to me that you can have this pool of characters that different filmmakers can get in and get out and kind of pass them around, pass the baton to somebody else, and they can use. Like I would love to see some completely different director and writer and actors combination take on the MCU.
Well, that's what I mean, though. That's when if you're outside of continuity, you can do that however much you want. Like that you have that option.
I guess you're right. I didn't assume that this question meant that we would keep the same continuity going. Like,
I mean, I think that's what they mean. I think they mean the MCU as was birthed with Iron Man in 2008 through now, should that end and have a period of respite and then introduce some new stories. But the different, I hear your analogy about The Walking Dead, and I think it makes a lot of sense. And certainly creatively, a definitive ending means that storytellers know what they're going to do. That's one of the reasons I think Breaking Bad worked. He said 6 seasons were out. I know what I'm going to do. And that's what I'm going to do and no more. But that said, the difference between this and The Walking Dead, if The Walking Dead, Caleb, my partner, brought this up the other day, if The Walking Dead had operated more like World War Z, the book, and was sort of anthology, and each season visited a different part of the world to look at what was happening in the zombie apocalypse, it would be a lot more interesting of a show, because The Walking Dead got trapped in a loop of there's only so much you can do with these characters in the same situations over and over and over and over again. MCU does not have that issue in the sense that they are weaving out a bunch of characters and weaving in new ones that have new stories to tell. If there's an end to what's interesting about comic book stories and superheroes in general, and they are our modern myths, that's a different question. That means the whole genre then takes a dive eventually, which it probably will, because that's the cyclical nature of storytelling.
I think it's also the reason for that isn't just because of the nature, but it's also they're never going to be able to do what they just did again in a better way. So they're never going to be able to have trilogies of each of their main Avenger characters lead up to an Avengers Infinity War, lead up to all of these things that we're seeing, because this is the best that it gets for that story. It's kind of like when the TDK trilogy came out. If you're going to do Batman again in those 3 movies, nobody wanted to do it the same way that Nolan did, because we already have that. So once they reboot, I think they're probably nervous, or they should be thinking about creatively, where do they go from there? Because you don't want to just reboot and then a couple years later, Iron Man, because they don't know what exactly to do. And I get that issue. So I think that's kind of why they are treating it more like a comic book, trying to, like you said, infuse new characters, have the old ones fade away, then maybe try to get new ones back in there to take the mantle of Iron Man, whoever.
But I think, Dan, I hear you about people on the internet and the sensitivity around that for sure. I understand that for sure. But I also think that general audiences like good storytelling. And that's why these movies are successful,
Yeah, just like how somebody can have a good run on a comic book, like, whatever, Matt, what's his name? Clearly I know my comics. Fraction? I think that's it. Can take over a book and have a great 12-issue run, and then somebody else doesn't do as good of a job with it. But you can just get these kind of they're just vehicles for expression for good artists and creators at this point. It's like saying, should Westerns end? And they did, and this will. But I think that comic book movies, and the MCU in particular, is flexible enough that you can keep it going. Not indefinitely, but we can squeeze another 10, 20 years out of it.
Do you think 20? I think 10. I think 5 to 7.
I think it's really going to depend on what DC does.
Why? No, you're really.
No, it's a good question. Because if DC, and I'm not saying this is what is happening, but with Flash being pushed back, which I'm sure you guys talked about, if what happens ultimately is that DC reboots their universe, which I don't know if that is happening, it seemingly is not, but if it is, and they start again with a Batman movie, with a Superman movie, and they do the MCU structure, people would love to see in 15 years from now that all lead up, not all people, but some, to a Justice League movie, and that would extend this run because it would be DC's version and their popular characters.
And so you think that there would be an audience, then there would be a true audience fatigue?
I think after that point, yeah.
That's interesting. Do you think that Kevin Feige, who has brought it to this point, and although filmmakers are starting to have more leeway in those films, it is his baby, and it is his, I think it's largely his voice driving the MCU at this point. Do you think he should step away and somebody else should come in to sort of create a new tone and a new voice for that series? Not now, because it's like, why would Disney ever do that now? If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But eventually creatively, would that be more interesting?
I think that's risky, and again, I think that just goes to show the sustainability of one long-running narrative. I mean, I hear what Spencer's saying with regard to comic books, but comic books and movies are two completely different things. I mean, they're two completely different art forms. Comic books are, in a way, designed to be a little streaky. Just because didn't speak to me, I get it. There are great runs in comic books, but that's 6 issues out of 600 issues, and I don't think that it translates to film the same way necessarily. Mm-hmm. And then if you bring Feige out of it again, it's like, well, if it's like sometimes a showrunner can change and the show gets better because it's a great new infusion of energy, and sometimes a showrunner can change and the show falls off a cliff because something just doesn't click, the sensibilities don't work, they don't click with the talent. And the question is, if Disney wants to do that, do you want to risk $10 billion on potentially putting someone in there who maybe it doesn't work? And I think that speaks again to just get the people that you want to tell the story and map out where you want the story to go. And if it's another 5 years, okay, but know where you're going and decide where you're going. Because I was actually thinking about this the other day. We were talking about, can you imagine if Breaking Bad had stayed on the air?
No, it sucks.
Where it would be right now? How many times Walt would have been to jail and quit doing
we've
meth?
Got Better
and
Call
started.
Saul. It's
Alive, by the
incredible.
way.
Yeah. But Better Call Saul is a completely different show.
So good.
It's a completely
Gus
different
Fring's
show.
there, Saul's there.
But it's telling a completely
Walter's
different
not there.
story.
Walter's not
It's
there.
the prequel. It's telling the lead up to Breaking Bad.
But
I think what Dan's saying, though-
different tones, the character, the fact that if it was the Saul Goodman that we know, it would be a different show. It's not. I like that they're building that character out. I really don't think that Better Call Saul is Breaking Bad light at all.
I think it's
its own thing.
Are people calling it that?
Yeah.
I think some people
Are
do
they?
because Mike is in it and because Gus is
Oh,
in it and
boo.
because it's about Saul Goodman. They're like, oh, no. Like I really think it's its own show.
I
Yeah.
watched the first season and I was not as impressed as the rest of the
you
world.
got to give it time. It's
Yeah,
a slow
I
burn.
liked
slow
it
burn.
fine. I liked it
But
fine.
I think the reason is Vince Gilligan is so deeply invested in character work. Kim is one of my favorite characters on that show, and in other hands, in terms of the writing and the acting, she could just completely fall flat. She's a very subtle character, I think, which is why she's one of my favorites. But that's what he's interested in, and so this is the story of the dissolution of a man who didn't want to dissolve. And Breaking Bad is the story of a man who always wanted to and was looking for the right excuse. So it's a different character. I agree. God, it's such a good show. Are you guys watching it? I guess we should talk about Marvel. Let's talk about amazing television work. All right. So in conclusion, we've agreed to nothing.
Yes. Variety of opinions, which is fine.
Which is totally fine. I think that eventually the comic book genre will have a decline because that's just. But we've been saying that now for so many years.
Yeah, I don't know because I think that it's. And this is a whole different video of the comic book genre being a reaction to like the real world in chaos in the same way that like these opulent like wacky movies were popular during the Depression, and as long as the world is hell, we'll want to see strong men put it back together for us.
I mean, that's an interesting take, except that that's also like that perspective is very much from our perspective here in the United States. It's a global phenomenon. Of course, the world is in chaos, but it was booming in 2008, right? So it's like that's
What was
11
happening
years
in
ago.
2008 that was a little tricky for people.
I think that the comic book genre isn't going to have a decline. I think the superhero genre is going to have a decline. And I think there's so many other comic books that could become these massive, massive franchises that aren't being looked at. And eventually when people are getting superhero fatigue, people are going to be like, what about the other comic books? Kind of like they did with The Walking Dead.
I mean, I think to your point earlier, Spencer, though, if you look at what Westerns were, they were huge archetypes of good and evil, right? And then eventually that framework, it was just played out, right? The stories were played out and they'd been done. There were hundreds of Westerns made in a year. We only remember like the top 25 best of them, but there were so many that I'm sure there were so many that were just trash as
We
well.
should go find them.
I want to do a whole thing on that. If anyone would watch that, I want to do a whole thing on what was the Transformers of like 1945. But I don't think I have an audience for that video.
I'd watch it.
You
sure.
would? Oh,
Yeah.
good. An audience of 2. Thank you. But my point is that in addition to that framework became too narrow, right? Like we didn't perceive good and evil that way anymore. And there were aliens too, when people had the scare, like the Red Scare of the other, that aliens become really popular. And then other things popped up to represent those archetypes for us. And now it's superheroes because we need something, because we've come to a place, I think, culturally where we view human beings, I hope with some nuance when we're doing our work. You need something that's above and beyond that to represent those archetypes for you. You know what I mean? Am I making any sense?
Yeah, definitely. I want mermaids.
Like
Mermaids are next.
I
Next
want
up,
mermaids.
they're mermaids.
Where's my mermaid genre?
next up in the MCU, mermaids. All right.
Get me stoked.
If only Disney owned a mermaid. That they could-
Yeah.
Ah, look
Yes.
at this stuff. Isn't it Thor?
Also, watch Stephen Chow's The Mermaid.
What in the
It is
world?
an awesome, hilarious, action-packed mermaid movie.
Is that Rainbow Bridge for?
Being an actual mermaid, that would stink.
Yes,
Okay.
it would, especially the bottom half. Ayo.
Dan excellently made points
Thank you.
from the perspective of a true film lover, and the same for you two. Okay,
Yeah.
beautiful. Good.
okay.
Let's move on. Oh, geez. I'm so sorry. I'm gonna hope I pronounce this correctly.
Aishwarya Verma?
Aishwarya Verma.
Nice.
Thank you. Well done.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir. for the assist. Aishwarya Verma, hello. First of all, thank you for your lovely comment. You are delightful, and we appreciate you very, very much. Now, my question is about movies that have been ahead of their time. What are some movies, particularly from the 80s or 90s, that maybe didn't do so well back then, but looking back now, may have been a great success had it been released in 2018? Well, there's some movies that didn't do so well back then that we now consider classics, like Blade Runner, but if Blade Runner 2049 is any indication, they also would not do well now. Maybe because I think there's a difference between movies that didn't do particularly well or weren't particularly critically well received even, that then later people found value in, and things that we think would financially succeed today. That one's tricky.
Right. Yeah.
The one that sprung to my mind was The Big Lebowski.
Did it not do well?
It did not. It did not do very well.
Did it lose money?
I don't know if it lost money, but it certainly found its audience later. And I think that's a different thing as audiences that find their movie later. But I think particularly with The Big Lebowski, it came out in 1998. And I still think, Fargo had only been 3 years earlier, I think, or 2 years earlier. And the new indie scene was just still sort of, Pulp Fiction had just been 4 years earlier. And the humor in that film is so specific and unique that I don't think that there were as many people in the audience tuned to that wavelength and that frequency as there are now. Plus, it was a whole different time in terms of promotion and getting it out there and getting the word out. This is very, very early days of AOL and the internet spreading. You had chat rooms and stuff, but it wasn't the kind of thing that we have now, where it's like if a movie like The Big Lebowski can find its audience like that now, if you get the right side of the right, that was not a good snap, the right group
Thanos
talking
would not
about
be
it.
happy.
So I think that if The Big Lebowski were put out today, nothing I say matters. It's just snap.
Everything you say.
No, I agree.
I think if The Big Lebowski were put out today, that people would find it a lot easier, and that I think it would be a bigger
How much money do you think it would make if The Big Lebowski came out in November this year?
Comedies are having a good couple of years.
Comedies are. I mean, I think that's a film that could
Some
make.
comedies.
Again, if you tap into the right
Probably more
into
like
the right
March
vein,
and April.
50.
Yeah.
50
It's kind of
to
funny.
60.
It's a chicken or the egg thing,
What
because
was the
there'd be
budget?
so many people
have to go
excited
back
to
and
see
look.
that cast together, but I feel like a lot of it's because of The Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
Where a lot
Yeah.
of people have grown to love them from,
Yeah.
although obviously they've all done a million great things. And then it would traffic off of the Coen brothers, where it has this weird tone, but by now we know what to expect from a Coen brothers movie. So it'd just be like, this is an amazing Coen brothers movie, where that didn't even mean anything in 98.
Do we know producer Max? Do we know how Raising Arizona did? Was that successful financially? We know. I'm just
Must
curious
have been just because it got them.
because then it got them their careers.
Yeah.
It basically launched their careers, right?
I'd
I'm just
imagine.
curious because Lebowski, it is a curiosity in terms of why it didn't perform. I wonder what it was up against. I wonder what the particulars around that were.
What year did Big Lebowski come out?
98. So I'd have to look back at what exact time of year it came out, but I think part of it was that I don't know if it was the direct follow-up to Fargo, but it was certainly very soon after Fargo,
Very
and it's
different
not
movie.
Fargo, and it's a different movie. And even though the Coen brothers were doing Blood Simple and were doing stuff like that before, I think people were expecting something like Fargo. A lot of the people who found the Coen brothers with Fargo, so I think that was there's so much chaos going on right
There,
now.
I
just
just
trying to
created a
get Max
problem back
Cameron
there.
Between
Max
it.
joined in on the snapping game.
Am I on?
Today's the weirdest day.
Did we do it?
We don't know if you're on because we're
We
not
don't know
wearing
if you're
headphones.
on.
Nope.
You're good.
Well, they're not cutting to me, but Raising Arizona made $22 million in 1987.
Oh
Okay.
wow,
That's like
pretty
22
Dan,
billion.
can you
Yeah.
adjust that for inflation in your head?
Yeah, that's
yeah,
$1
that's
billion.
that's
I
like
cannot.
a lot of money.
What did The Big
That's-
Lebowski
That's an
make?
incredibly successful comedy.
Oh God.
God, it's also my favorite Coen Brothers film. Judge me if you
Really?
want.
That's
Don't
fine.
care.
That's great.
I
And Edgar
love
Wright.
that movie.
Edgar Wright, it's like his favorite movie of all time.
I love that
Big
movie.
Lebowski only 17 million.
Yeah. It was,
Okay.
It was a pretty.
Flop.
It's it's not a lot.
Interesting. Okay. Well,
That's domestic. 20 plus foreign, so 46 million worldwide.
this has been dollars and cents with Screen Junkies Universe. First of all, Dan, everything you say matters. You are the unequivocal favorite of this audience. They love you more than they love
It's
Slice.
just fun to
literally the
snap
most true thing.
Avocado toast.
The most true thing that
They
anybody's
love
ever
you
said.
more than they love all of the Screen Junkies and every other YouTube channel combined.
Yeah.
But that's not
You
true.
are beloved.
That's true.
That's
It is
You
not
are
true.
beloved
It
by.
is the most true.
It is the most true. You are beloved by the audience. You are beloved
Embrace
by
it.
us. Embrace
You're
it.
a
I'm very
PewDiePie.
easily. I'm
you're
very
Captain
easily,
America.
I'm very easily distracted, and the snapping threw me off my game.
If we were the Avengers, you would be Captain America.
Oh.
Yeah.
Who would I be? Snapping girl.
Justin Hammer.
That is so true in so many ways.
Who would I be? I thought we decided this the other day.
Yeah, we'll let the fan art decide.
Very well.
Always a dangerous proposition.
That was a really meandering diatribe, but do you guys have specific answers to that? Movies from the 80s and 90s that you think would do well today?
This might have been early 2000s. I was just thinking about Gattaca recently. Remember Gattaca?
No.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's
That was
Gattaca?
a
It was
movie ahead of its
fun.
time.
I don't
It was
know what
fun,
that
yeah.
is.
Maybe it would have been just like a big like Netflix acquisition or something because it's not like
Is it
the
a
most-
sci-fi?
Yes.
It would have been a series.
It would have been a really
Netflix
good
series.
Netflix series. Yeah, good limited
Who's in
TV
it?
series.
What is Gattaca?
Ethan
It's
Hawke.
Ethan
Yeah.
Hawke
Uma
and
Thurman.
Uma Thurman.
Love her.
Were they married then, or was
I
that where
believe
they
that is
met?
where they met.
Okay.
I believe.
And it's very much
Ooh,
about like a
good for
society
Gattaca.
like run by 23andMe, where like only certain like genetically not pure people, but like the most elite genetic people get to go to space, and everyone else has to live
And
back
are
on
Ethan
Earth.
Hawke, Uma Thurman, two of the most genetically
They're
improved
not.
people?
No.
They're not. One of them is
No.
hiding.
Brutal.
Hiding
But
in
which
plain
one?
sight. Well,
Yeah,
we
you'll
can't
have to
spoil
watch.
it. You'll have to watch Gattaca.
It's Ethan.
oh.
Oh, she guessed it.
Yeah, that's right.
But it's a really good movie.
Uma can't hide. She's too
And yeah,
beautiful.
you're right. It almost would have worked better as a series. I would have loved to watch that.
Yeah. All right, Netflix, if you're listening, and I know that you are, Ted. Ted, again, I have no problem with you. Yeah, do it. Make a Gattaca series because there's plenty of people that never even saw the first one. And there you go. Prime
I'm one of them.
content for you. Did you have one, Roxy?
You know how I like to not answer the question that's being asked, but then ask my own question and answer that?
I do the same thing, yes.
So, not from the 80s or 90s. I think we're going through one right now, and you guys know I've been a big advocate for this movie, and there are other people at the table who might not agree. Life itself, I think that it's before its time, and I think that at some point somebody's going to look at this movie and realize how horrible the planet we live on is, that people do not appreciate this movie.
I love you.
I gotta watch this
I
It's
because it's like
the best.
supposedly the worst movie
It
ever
is
made.
my number one favorite movie of this year by so many
can't wait.
miles. It's so beautiful, and one day it will get the appreciation and respect it deserves.
Do you
Can
like
we get a
Collateral
close
Beauty?
up on Dan?
Is it like
No, it's not.
Okay.
I don't dislike Collateral Beauty as much
awesome?
as other
Okay,
people
then I'm
do.
even more excited.
It's so good. Oh, it moved my whole soul. I can't wait to watch it again. 50
Dan?
times. every day.
Everybody's got their own opinion.
Yes.
Yeah.
I hated it,
I know you
but
did.
that's
I know
okay.
you
Everybody's
did.
got their
I
own
don't
opinion.
get that. And let's talk in 10 years. And let's
All
see.
right.
I'll-
Let's
I'll-
revisit.
I will hate it in 10 years, and we'll discuss it then.
Okay.
Hey, if we're still working together in 10 years, I'll either be very happy or very confused. One or the other.
I'm definitely tired.
I'm already tired. I'm Rocket Raccoon. I forgot that I had already figured it out. I'm definitely Rocket Raccoon. Like a little bit of pathos, kind of wacky, small and wiry,
You go,
mostly
girl.
made of parts. Olivia Periano, forgive me, says the rom-com genre.
Piraino.
Periano.
I don't know.
The rom-com genre seems to be going through a renaissance revitalization period right now. What other genre do you think would be the next one to have a renaissance? That's a great question.
Mermaids.
Mermaid.
Mermaids.
The mermaid genre.
Certainly.
Gosh, I don't know. I feel like you could reskin film noir, and like the musical I think is back. Like we can't say bring back music because we now get multiple big budget musicals
Yeah.
every year. Western, I don't know. What's left? There aren't too many dead genres. Like experimental film.
I think
Like,
in,
what about the there was a hard-boiled, I mean, you're talking about film noir, but there was a period of time in the 90s that was a lot of like paralegal discovers like
Yeah.
like
Conspiracy
corruption.
thriller type thing?
Thank you,
Yeah.
conspiracy
That could
thriller.
be good. How about the
Yeah.
sports playing animal? That could use a gritty, like a real
Air Bud?
grounded reboot of Air Bud.
And that's how you revitalize the comic book genre because it's Rocket.
Yeah, Rock Raccoon.
But
Or I
where's
was
the
gonna say
mermaid?
just like remake like Concussion or something, but with a golden retriever.
Maybe more genre merges. That's how we do it.
Yeah, like
Genre merge, like rom-com, and maybe we Western superhero.
yeah, conspiracy thriller, sports playing animal.
Yeah.
So it's like a
With
golden
the
retriever
mermaid tail.
discovers corruption inside the NFL.
Dan's in.
He's speechless.
I'm speechless. It's
been a long
Can't
week,
wait.
hasn't
It has
it?
been a very long week.
Coming to you in June of 2020.
I think in the wake of A Star Is Born, you're gonna see the resurgence of
Melodrama.
the mid to high budget studio drama. When we say when I mean it's like when people ask like, where are the movies that used to win Oscars?
Yeah.
That kind of movie, the kind of movie like A Star Is Born, where it's not an indie, it's a studio putting its full force behind it. It doesn't have to be $100 million. It can be 30 to 50. But I think you're going to start seeing, which is good. I like this.
Yeah,
I
I
like
like
that
too.
trend. I think you're going to see studios start to do mid-budget movies like that more. And I think you're going to see more mainstream dramas and maybe even comedies like Crazy Rich Asians now, or When Harry Met Sally a long time ago. Sort of a throwback to the broader genre of pictures that studios used to make before 10 years ago they went, all of our $300 million stuff is here and all of our $6 million stuff is here. I think we're going to see more of the middle.
I'm looking forward to that. I think the curiosity around rom-coms for me is that Netflix has been owning it so well, but then Crazy Rich Asians was such a huge success. It's like, where do the studios find the right path forward? You know what I mean? Do they double down and try and make their own? Or do they let Netflix largely have their lane and then just pick one or two a year to invest in, which is probably more likely. But yeah, the melodrama. Oh yes, when done well is delightful.
Are you guys watching all of those, like Kissing Booth and
course I
The
am.
Package?
Yes.
Yeah,
To all
great.
the boys I've loved,
Loved before.
and below.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only
Are
one
you
I've
watching
seen.
them with your
I watched
with,
that one.
with your wife?
What was it? I watched that one and one other one. Well, Love, Simon. That doesn't really count. Does
That
it?
was
Is
on
a rom-com?
Netflix.
Yeah,
I
it
guess it's a rom-com.
absolutely is a
rom-com.
rom-com.
It was
There
a
you
great
go.
movie, but not Netflix.
It's a
There you go.
delightful.
Those are both delightful
movie.
movies.
Oh,
Yeah.
Love Simon was one of the best movies of the
Criminally
year.
underseen.
Yeah.
I agree.
It was
Love Simon's
so
one of
good.
my favorite films.
It was
of the
so
year far.
good.
Yeah, it's definitely a rom-com. Rugged English. Who are your favorite directors? I like Tarantino, Stone, Fincher, and Malick.
solid
That's
list.
a solid
Is that
list.
Oliver Stone?
Oliver
believe
Stone,
so.
I believe.
Okay. All right. Well,
Or Sharon. I don't know if she's made her directorial debut. I believe it's Oliver Stone.
Yeah.
That is an amazing list of directors. I love Terrence Malick right up to the point that he made Knight of Cups. And then we don't have to discuss that any further. Here's a few that you might like. Danny Boyle. Who's not necessarily knocks it out of the park every time, but God, he's an interesting filmmaker. Watch Shallow Grave. That's one of my favorites. Wong Kar-wai. Jean Genet. So many more. Scorsese, have you heard of him?
Scorsese, yes.
Tell me more.
Scorsese. I
Scorsese,
believe.
yes.
Scorsese.
Scorsese, yes. Correct.
How can somebody also not have Spielberg on their list? It's very generic, but like, come on. Wow.
Yeah.
Like, oh God, there's just so many to choose from. Directors, but Spielberg movies that you just have to love.
Mine's probably Paul Verhoeven, but
Yes.
running. But I gotta say, like, the one I'm the most excited about, and I know it's a little bit played. Is
Can I say it? Can I say it for you?
Villeneuve. Like
I can't do
I've
it.
never been more excited than I am for Villeneuve's Dune, starring Timothy Chalamet. Like, holy shit, that
Yeah.
movie's gonna be insane.
Yeah, it's going to be the best movie.
It's gonna be the best movie ever.
And the crazy thing about what's going on with Villeneuve
Yeah.
is that he's this amazing art house filmmaker who's given, and we don't know why. It's just like the fates have aligned.
Yeah.
So much money
Yeah.
to make his art, which like never, ever, ever, ever happens. But you just named one of my, like, Dan, what's the
Yeah.
most perfect movie ever made? Well, one of them.
She wants you to say RoboCop.
I want you to say RoboCop.
was gonna
One
s-
of the most
I
perfect
mean,
movies
it's
ever made.
Network, but also RoboCop.
It's also okay, true. It's Network. But it's also I love Network too.
Yes.
But
Sidney
that doesn't come with the
Lumet
point.
is another
Sidney
director
Lumet.
for you.
I had to write mine down because I always get caught flat-footed and I can't think. So I wrote Spielberg is definitely on my list. Sidney Lumet, Billy Wilder, Edgar Wright, one of my personal favorites. The Coen brothers we talked about. One that is either for me is this is one of my favorite movies of all time, or this is not for me, and there's really no in between, and I love it. Is P.T. Anderson. He's made some movies that I love and are like my favorites, and he's made some that I'm just like, this is not my thing. But I love that he's
That
a
makes you
director that can
excited to
do
see
that.
his stuff, though.
Yeah, I'm always excited to see a new movie. And then one that's working now that I've discovered in the last couple of years, who has a new movie called The Favorite coming out that I can't wait to see, is Yorgos Lanthimos,
Yes.
who did The Lobster and
He's
Killing
great.
of a Sacred Deer.
The Lobster was my favorite movie of that year.
I
It was
love
so
The
good.
Lobster
Yeah.
so much. Killing the Sacred Deer was so weird. I still don't know if I liked it or not. It was so weird, and he's one of the newer ones for me that I'm just like, if I hear that he's got a new movie coming out, I'm thinking like I have to find this movie and I have to see it.
Yeah. Roxy. Oh, just to give you guys a little context, Verhoeven directed RoboCop and Total Recall and Starship Troopers. He's just amazing.
Basic
He's
Instinct.
he is the
Showgirls.
he's the king of satire, and that is the hardest thing to master. I truly believe it is. Roxy, who are some of your favorites?
So I have to go Spielberg as my number one, which is the most basic answer of all time. The person I'm most excited about these days because she pulled out my favorite female performance that has ever been, actually my favorite performance that's ever been, and now having waited all of these years and coming back, Patty Jenkins. I'm so invested in her right now and excited to see where she goes in the future. So that's my new and my long time.
Nice.
Jane Campion is another director that you should probably check out. Who else? Pedro Almodovar. Oh, God. Speaking of the king of satire, what am I thinking? Pedro. He can take the darkest topic and make it funny, and you will find yourself so uncomfortable that you're laughing, and you cannot help it. He is just a master. Who?
Nolan.
Spencer?
Nolan for sure. What, more people? Hal Ashby?
Yes.
He's
No,
one of
it's
my
good
favorites
classic.
all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess I'm not a huge director enthusiast, but yeah, those three I would comfortably put on my small Mount Rushmore.
Your small round. I was like drawing blanks. Sofia Coppola. I love. If you're not familiar with her work, it's not for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's
Lynn
kind of like
Ramsey.
P.T. Anderson for me, Sophia Coppola. I either
Yeah.
love it or I'm like, I don't know if that's for me, but I like that.
Lynn Ramsey did We Need to Talk About Kevin.
Yes.
And then last year she did a movie that we both really liked. How did that end up doing?
Which one?
The Joaquin Phoenix.
You were
Oh,
never,
you were never
You were never
really
here.
here. Oh, I mean, it's on Prime, I think now, or
By the
coming
way,
on
I
Prime
was
right
both
now.
really like
I
that.
wasn't snapping
I
at
loved You Were
anyone.
Never
I was
Really
snapping
Here.
at the
Ugh.
universe.
No, not for you.
Oh God.
I loved that movie
Nope.
so much.
Nope.
It's coming out on Prime, I think now or very soon. You should check it out because it's also one of my favorites of the year.
Dan and I have the same opinions. Dan and I always agree.
Which all those polar opposites, unless we meet in the middle.
But so much
somehow, sometimes.
respect and love.
Exactly. That's how it should work. Not
True.
I hate you because we disagree. It's let's talk about it in 10 years.
Yeah.
Like
We're
we
gonna-
will
we're
with
gonna
life
meet for
itself. We're going to
coffee.
meet on this
Yeah.
day in 10 years and talk about life itself.
So I'm going to name a name who her biggest movie was not a success at all. But if you look at anything else she's done, it's amazing. And that's Ava DuVernay. So if you haven't seen 13th, go check it out. If you haven't seen Selma, check it out.
I think it's fair still to have that be on your list.
Ava, she's
Yeah.
amazing. A Wrinkle in Time, to be fair, was not something I loved.
It's unique.
I did not see it.
It's an adaptation
I did not see it. I didn't want to be a.
from page to screen.
It's anyway.
Okay.
Lots and lots of directors. Really good question. I think we have time for I don't know, what is it? 3 a.m? What's going on? I like this one actually. Jupiter. asks, after watching The Revenant, I never want to see a low-angle shots of trees ever again.
They did overuse it.
They were beautiful.
They
It
overused
was
it a
heavily
little bit.
used.
Just string them all together. It's
Lubezki's a genius, but it was a lot of trees. What types of shots? Lubezki was the one who shot it. What types of shots or story tropes are you fine with never seeing again?
There's one now, and it's been in several movies, and I get it that you want to be of the time, but it seems like the go-to for every tech. First of all, it's a high-tech villain based on Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg or whoever, and the motivation, it seems like, for almost every major villain has been, the world is dying, so I'm gonna kill humanity to save the planet, or I'm gonna blah 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 because it seems like
environmentalist gone too far.
Climate change.
Every
is
DC
like
movie, every Marvel movie.
It's every
Kingsman.
Kingsman.
Okay, wait. Kingsman, Thanos,
Venom.
Venom.
Ares would be the same thing. Steppenwolf, they kind of were the same
I
way.
saw two right in a row that were both climate change. I'm trying to remember.
Not climate, but we're gonna have to. Society or humanity is
Right.
horrible. We have to kill them first.
Okay, that's true. So
Venom,
let's name
I
them:
think.
Venom, Wonder Woman, Avengers, Infinity War.
Yeah, but I'm trying to remember the other one I saw recently that was also like it's all tied to climate change and to save the planet's reacting or just I get
Geostorm?
it. Yeah, like I get it that climate change is a thing, but it is quickly becoming the overused cliche in the way that like every 90s action movie was always about terrorism. Every 2010 movie is very quickly becoming about climate change and humanity's I'm just so sick of seeing the same speech from every villain or whatever saying like humanity's the real villain. It's like, okay, I get it. Like I've seen this in 40 movies. I'm tired of it. I'm sick of it. No more. Find a different motivation.
But it's also an interesting thing about that is that it's not true. I think that, that like the cause of the environmental decline can be traced to like 100 companies and not
Yes,
an
that is also
every
true.
individual on the planet. Like I read an article the other day that, oh, I'm gonna get yelled at, don't care. I read an article the other day that was like, if you left your light on, it wouldn't matter if it was coming from a clean energy source. So the biggest deception has been that the weight is fully on the individual because the individual can only do so much in the grand scheme of things. Spencer, would you like
Yeah.
to weigh
Sprinklers
in on
on,
climate
folks.
change?
No, I think what you're saying sounds spot on. I'm gonna just take that as an excuse to leave all my lights on and all my appliances running. Just
Well, that
'cause
wasn't
yellow.
okay. That
No,
maybe we
I know
are
what
the
you're saying.
worst as humanity.
No, they should definitely. Yes, there's like 10 people ruining the world. But
Maybe I should be one of them.
So it's like we don't have to kill everyone. We just have to kill
right,
those
just
10 people.
Just 10.
Yeah.
That's easy.
You should tell Thanos that.
One bus.
Snap, 10 people, gone.
I'm fine with that. I guess it kind of took care of itself, but there was a moment that I just find it hard to relate to where I did as maybe more of a teenager of the 90s of movies like Fight Club and like American Beauty and even like Office Space and stuff where it's like so quaint that the biggest problem was like, my life's so comfortable, I hate it. It's like, oh, I've got this job and I'm buying these home products and furnishings. Like, oh, I gotta like bring some excitement and some drama back into my life. It's like, you didn't know how good you had it.
I'm sick of this 5-bedroom house in the suburbs
Or
with
like
my
they're
steady
poor,
job
yeah.
and my child and wife. Like I'm
Who
so
loves me very much and makes me dinner
Yeah,
and
that's getting less.
brushes my hair.
Less relatable.
That is such a good point.
That was
That
a big
is-
90s problem.
It
that we
was a
don't
big
have so
90s
much.
problem. Like, oh, I'm bored.
I'm
Like,
bored.
Want something to think about?
I
Open up the hellscape.
I think mine would have to be the action movie slow-mo to get the shot. Like, no. Because, like, you just can't do it quick enough. And
Yeah.
so you have to slow it down so it doesn't look bad.
It'd be very boring if it was in real speed.
Yeah, and it just, they use it all the time. And I'm like, God, now there's that part. And it just stops everything for me. Just slows it all down. And I'm like, all right, now they're going to hit his face. Get there. Get there. Get there. Oh, there we go. There we go.
All right. I think those are some very good tropes to get rid of.
I agree.
Yeah,
And
they're
these-
dead to us. Put them on the bus with the 10 worst people in
Did
the
you
world.
say yours? Do you have one?
The tropes that I it's weird. There's probably a ton, but I'm not thinking of like one.
Next time you
specific-
see it, you're gonna be like, aha!
That's the one. I was so tired of that. Damn it. But these are all ones that I'm equally tired of. Although I wouldn't mind a return to like my biggest problem is I feel too good. Like
Everything's so good, it's numbing. It's so
Like-
numb how good everything's going for me.
My income is too steady. It's
Yeah.
Too
predictable.
stable.
It's really funny because like that, we talked about the idea of generational stereotypes,
Yeah.
like people fit into certain molds if they're from a certain generation. But one of the millennial or ex-millennial stereotypes was that, right? Like the apathy that came from comfort.
Mm-hmm.
But then you saw it in culture, you saw it in movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just have never been that comfortable. And I like to make you uncomfortable too, but we don't want to murder anybody. We just want to snap the world into a better place.
By losing 10 people, no more.
And on that note,
Who are your top 10 least favorite people? Sound off in the comments below. We'll put them on a bus and drive it off a cliff.
In a good way.
Metaphorically.
and literally, it's been good, Dan.
Yes.
Do you want to say anything to the people before the weekend?
I think, are we doing a spoiler review for Halloween? I
I
think
don't know.
we
We have
are.
to talk
we
about
might
it after
be.
the show.
Check
We might
tomorrow.
be.
There might
I
be
don't
one or there
know.
might not be one.
We'll figure
not
it
sure
out.
yet.
We're not sure. I don't know. It depends on the level
Depends on the level of.
of how much we want to get yelled at even more. How much? I'm going out of town all next week, and I'll miss you guys terribly. And it's been good to be with you. And if I don't ever come back, it's been good in general.
say that.
Why?
Awful.
You never know.
It wouldn't be awful. I would be really upset about it because you'd be gone, but you'd be happy living in a beautiful place, and I'd be happy for you.
She went off to a farm. She's very happy there. Roth's really enjoying. She's got lots of room
If
to
she stayed
roam.
where she was going, I'd come visit.
I can't tell if you're talking about the literal location or the afterlife. So I'm going to
No.
assume both.
She's in a better place.
She's in a better place. Spencer,
Yeah.
close us out.
Oh man, I'm excited for next week. Despite the absence of Roth, but in case you can't hear,
including-
I've been sick all week. I've been feeling real like logy and like I'm moving and there's just a lot going on. I'm ready to just like get back to talking about movies. You know,
What's Logie?
like full of loogies, I believe.
Yeah, like just full of snot. I didn't know you were sick.
Well, good.
I'm
I
so
hold it
happy I'm
together very
sitting
well.
next to
Thanks
you.
for spreading
Yeah,
the
no,
germs.
tail end. We're all good.
We
Moving
spread the
forward.
germs, we spread the love, and we spread the information. Some of it is accurate. That's the logo for SJ News. It's good. Bye. Right.